Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris Schaub, and I provide listening notes for classic jazz albums. Today we've got Herbie Hancock, Takin Off 1962 on Blue Note. If you enjoy the channel, if it's helpful, please like, comment, subscribe. Definitely subscribe, because my goal is to try to get more people to listen to music intentionally and to listen to jazz specifically. So the more you subscribe and the more people subscribe in general, so share with your friends. YouTube will boost me up in listings, provide me as in more search results, which helps hopefully get more people to listen to jazz. So Blue Note, this is mine is a reissue vinyl. It's a direct metal mastered one from the 80s, maybe 90. The better one to get is the Kevin Gray version in from Coherent Audio, and you can get that. There's a link to it in the description for the video. Along with, if you're not a vinyl person and you like to stream, you can actually get the streams very easily via the link in the description. As well as I have a link to the Wikipedia article, which is pretty sparse, but I put it there anyhow just for your benefit. It's Herbie Hancock on piano, Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, Billy Higgins on drums, Butch Warren on double bass, and Dexter Gordon on tenor saxophone. So you kind of have like a Young Lions kind of group, a younger group, and then you have Dexter Gordon coming in. And his career at this point was having kind of a renaissance anyhow. We did his Go album, which I think was 1960. So this is right before he moves back to Europe. Okay, he was recording a lot for Blue Note during this time in New York. So Herbie Hancock was born in Chicago on April 2nd, 1940. He got a degree in music composition from Grinnell College. He's got a master's in music, I believe, from Manhattan School of Music. And he played with Coleman Hawkins, Donald Byrd, Phil Woods, Oliver Nelson, and Miles Davis, to name a few. Herbie is considered one of the great jazz piano players and one of the great jazz composers. A lot of his music went on to become standards, especially from this album. We'll talk about that. This was recorded at VanGelder Studios by Rudy VanGelder in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. The theme continues. The cover, again, is by Reid Miles. So Reid did the last one we talked about, which was the Eric Dolphy, Out to Lunch, and he also did Dexter Gordon Go and a bunch of other ones. So Reid was a graphic designer, and this cover is really cool. It's very subtle, very minimalist, but it's just the look on Herbie's face, along with the way the type is laid out. It's very pleasing. Liner notes are written by Leonard Feather. Like I say, you can get the remaster by Kevin Gray of Coherent Audio. Highly recommend that. And this is Herbie's debut on Blue Note Records. Let's see, its genre is hard bop. I wanted to show the liner notes on this are Leonard Feather, and he's a very famous jazz critic. I'm not going to go through them in detail because you can read them yourself, but it is one of the benefits of collecting vinyl is you can actually sit back while you're listening to the record and read the vinyl. I know some of the streaming services, I think Qobuz does a pretty good job with that. I also wanted to show, if you are into vinyl, what I do is I buy these ultra clear sleeves from MoFi, and I keep the original sleeves inside the dust jacket. So inside here, I keep the original sleeves that came with it. And then I put the cover inside. This is getting out of hand here, but I'll try in like this. And then I actually have a separate sleeve because if you're gonna be this thing on a retentive, you might as well go all the way. And I keep the record inside of this sleeve by MoFi. And only hold the records like this. So I'm not really ever touching the record, or I'm holding it by the sides, but I'm not touching the playable surface. This approach to then these MoFi master sleeves, what's cool about it is then I can just slip the record in the back here. I'm not actually opening the cardboard sleeve. I'm just sliding it behind it. And what that does is helps protect the cardboard sleeve, because if you're constantly trying to shove the record inside of it, you'll tear the edges on the cardboard, and you'll see a lot of older records have that problem. So this is the way I achieve it. You do have to be more careful because the record is exposed. It's behind a two mylar sleeves, but it's not within the cardboard, which is the best protection for it. But I keep mine usually in the house and I don't take it out. So seems to be the best way for me. Your mileage might vary. I'm not responsible for any damage. I just encourage from your record collection, but that's what I do. So hard bop genre on this one. It's during that time. It's 1962. Very compositional record. So it starts off with side A, Watermelon Man, which is a tune Herbie wrote. Watermelon Man became a hit. It's a crossover tune. It made it in the top 100 singles chart, and it's a 16 bar blues. And later he released it as a funk version on his record Headhunters. And so anybody who's played in marching band, which I did for 4 years in high school, played snare drum, and we played Watermelon Man like every other week. It seemed like for 4 years. It's really played a lot, and I think we were referencing the funk version from Headhunters. But first track on this record became a hit. A lot of people listened to it. It's right before the British invasion with the Beatles, so it's kind of a bluesy, gospel blues kind of a feel. So it's not really your traditional jazz feel. It's kind of got a sort of a light gospel blues kind of groove on the drums. It's in no way connected to the Duke Ellington tune of the same name. And I guess Herbie Hancock from the liner notes, he said that the tune title comes from when he grew up in Chicago, South Side. He recalls hearing the Watermelon Man, I'm assuming, walking around with fresh watermelon saying, "Hey, watermelon," and so he's the Watermelon Man. So you go by Watermelon um, from him when it's hot out, I'm assuming. Um, there were people doing that in New York City in certain neighborhoods where they would have like fresh fruit, mangoes and things like that, and it was always great. If it was hot out, you were kind of thirsty, or you just needed a quick little sugar rush. You could just get some fresh fruit, and then they're cutting it right there. So I'm guessing that's what the Watermelon Man's function was. Um, Next tune, actually, notice at this tune starts with an 8 bar vamp. A vamp is a repeated musical phrase at the top of the tune. Sounds a little modal almost, but it's just a little vamp that they play, and then they go into the head, and the head is 16 bars, and it's repeated. Okay, so if you're counting along, trying to stay intentional with the music, try to notice the vamp versus the actual tune. The next tune is Three Bags Full. It's also a 16 bar tune, has a similar vamp up at the top. It's in 3/4 time. It's a waltz kind of a feel. A waltz is a type of a dance, but it's in three, as opposed to Watermelon Man, which is in four. Um, it's a 16 bar tune, and in the liner notes, Herbie Hancock said they called it Three Bags Full because each soloist during the solos plays out of a different bag. Okay. You definitely have between Herbie Hancock, Freddie Hubbard, and Dexter Gordon, three very distinct styles of playing. So maybe that's what he's referencing. Next tune is Empty Pockets. It's a straight blues. Notice the vamp at the top. Notice Billy Higgins on drums playing some rudiments as opposed to time in certain spots. He'll play like a 5-stroke roll, which is just a roll of 5 strokes, da 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 da, or he'll play like a rough, which is da 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 da, which is like a 3-stroke type of a rudiment. And it actually kind of has like a traditional, it kind of harkens back to like a traditional jazz way of playing, where the time was on the snare drum or on wood blocks, and not on the cymbal so much. So he kind of mixes that up, and then he'll return to the ride cymbal in the tune as well. But it sounds a little New Orleans actually, as well, but that's because that's where that music came from, so it makes sense. Side B begins with The Maze. Notice that the time gets kind of free between the solos, between Butch Warren and Billy Higgins. After the solos between the saxophone and the trumpet. It's kind of a minor tune, so it is kind of an interesting innovation to take an album that's kind of hard bop, kind of just sort of straight ahead, and do a little bit of free stuff there. So already, people are really feeling the impact of musicians experimenting with freedom in the time, as opposed to just everything in strict meter of 3 or 4 or whatever. So even this album is very composed. It's very straight ahead. But even here, Herbie Hancock is experimenting, and so jazz is changing. But this album, I chose this because I've been listening to it, but also because it's a nice sort of like, okay, let's hear something a little more tonal, because we've been doing some Eric Dolphy and some Ornette Coleman. So I noticed his Dexter Gordon solo on this. it's a real standout on this tune. And try to notice Dexter Gordon in general on this and how he sounds different. And I just think he always sounds great. He always sounds like himself, and he sounds very beautiful. But he does provide that. He provides that on this album, where a lot of the younger players on the record maybe just have a different sound. So try to see if you can hear some of the age and wisdom in his playing. I think it's there. Next tune is Drift Down, side B, 32 bar tune, kind of bluesy. Solos featured Freddie Hubbard quite a bit. He's taking the high line on the on some of the doubling and some of the melodies. So it's a really nice tune. And then the last tune on the record is Alone and I. It's a ballad. Again, notice Dexter Gordon. He's very prominently featured on this, and sort of his sort of way of playing. There's real smooth, silky lines and some of the breathiness. It's just perfect for a ballad. And again, I think it shows sort of his maturity as a player. So Herbie Hancock, Takin' Off. I hope you can get the vinyl or stream it and sit down this weekend and listen to some jazz, and share it with your friends. Hopefully they'll start listening to some jazz, and hope to see you again next time.